There's another one you don't want to hear. Frankly, if do I.
1, 2, 3, set, go.
Hello and welcome to episode 108 of the Power Chord Hour podcast. As always, I am your host, Anthony Merchant, here welcoming you to another episode of the show. Whether it is your first time listening to the show, your 100th time, whatever, thank you for checking it out. I cannot tell you how excited I am for this episode, and I'm going to keep this very brief. If you were listening to the May 2022 rundown of the show that we put out last week, I was bitching about people who do really, really long podcast intros. I am not doing that. Honestly, the main reason I'm even doing an intro for this one is because we had some technical difficulties with the first couple minutes of this interview. So, I never got to go into the intro or anything. It kind of like goes just right into it a few minutes into the interview. And I'm going to call it technical difficulties. Some people might call it being overly excited to talk to the punk legend John Doe and maybe forgetting to hit record for a minute or two. You know, maybe some people would call it that. I call it a technical difficulty, though. That's definitely what I call it. Definitely did not just get really, really stoked that I got to talk to a punk rock legend and just a musical legend, like whatever. I mean, this is another thing I talked about. Besides, that's basically what the May 2022 rundown of the show was. Half of it was me bitching about people who do really long podcast intros, and the other half was me just gushing about getting to interview John Doe. And now you get to hear it right now, because that is this episode. I'm talking to John Doe. He just put out an amazing new record, Fables in a Foreign Land. So much of an honor. It is such an honor to get to talk to him. I love X. I love John Doe. I love everything this man does. And, just amazing. I really, really loved that I got to talk to him. And, again, you missed the first couple minutes of the interview, but that is okay. I mean, it really is just a few minutes. You'll be able to pick up where we're at. So we'll just get right into it, right where the technical difficulty stopped, and maybe I realized that I hadn't hit record yet on StreamYard. Hey, listen, the other thing, I use StreamYard every now and then. It's normally not the way I do it, so that's my other excuse is, I wasn't using Adobe Audition that day. So maybe that's why we had the technical difficulty. I don't know. Call what you want. Call me a dumbass. I mean, you call me whatever you want. I got to talk to John Doe for an hour, so I'm pretty fucking stoked. And that's all that really matters. So anyways, I'm going to shut up. I'll talk more afterwards. But here's my interview with the legend John Doe right here on the Power Chord Hour podcast.
The three of us just started developing the sound on Kevin's patio because nobody was touring and we couldn't go inside, and we wanted to remind ourselves that yes, we do have something of a career in music, I hope, still. And then I started writing songs for this maybe 4 years ago, and then just started funneling them or channeling or directing them towards concept, which is it all takes place pre-industrial, maybe 1890. There was a journalist who was writing in England and said it was the bleak era of the 1980s instead of the 1890s. And I thought, you don't know how true that was, man. It was pretty bleak at times. But anyway, so yeah, I was just able to stay disciplined and write these stories, and it's all about like something that either the narrator, it could be a man, could be a woman, experiences as they're driven from their home and they're searching for something, and there's a lot of isolation, a lot of loneliness. So it has some serious connections to what we've been through for the last couple of years. And that was sort of a happy accident.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to ask too, because listening to it, I mean, there's definitely, you hear those themes and everything. And I wanted to know, I mean, do you consider this at all a concept record, or is it more of, would you just go with, there's kind of a theme that runs through it? Because I mean, it does kind of all weave together. I don't know that it weaves
they're in the way of a concept record, but you do listen and you can tell that you are telling a story. Like as the listener, I'm hearing it, and right away you're like, oh yeah,
well,
like these all together.
It's a concept record that was not born out of a concept. It wasn't contrived or I'm going to do this and do a study on folk music or do a study an academic dive into what music sounded like. Something, there. It's a concept record, hopefully without pretension. It's a concept that came from desire and there was something elemental in olden days. Even in the 20s or the 1950s, there was something more elemental about survival, depending on where you lived in the world, and that's true even now. But there's something that's appealing to me about having to survive, and that's become a little more clear in the last couple of years too.
For you, like when you write lyrics, and I mean on here, you're doing a lot of storytelling, and obviously throughout the years, I mean, you're a great storyteller with lyrics, and I feel like you can do both. There's the fiction, and then there's writing autobiographical songs. Is one easier than the other for you? Like, do you find telling a story is easier than writing a song about your own personal life, or vice versa?
Oh, I think they're all personal. You have to invest, even if you're writing something from, a newspaper article that you wrote or read or something that you heard. If you don't have that personal investment, then it's kind of flat, and then it somehow you have to invest yourself into it. And any writer, any songwriter or writer tells you that they're not somehow writing about themselves. They're lying to you, Anthony. and don't believe them. You don't know what else they're lying about. They may be lying about many things.
Did you even write that song?
Who's actually singing on that song?
Yeah, was that actually you? Kind of going along with that too. I think one of the strongest things you do as a songwriter is you can paint a vivid picture. I mean, and really, also I got to say, you can go both sides. Obviously, I can listen to like Los Angeles, and you paint a picture of Los Angeles and like a big metropolitan city, things like that. On the new record, you're painting a picture so drastically different from like, a large city or something like that. I feel like I'm in the middle of the desert. I feel like I'm transported back to the 1800s. Like, does that come, do you think, at all from do you think your surroundings influence you? Do you think that is how it comes in? Or is that, I guess, more of where do you think that comes from? Does that come from you going to these places? Does this come from influence? Like, how can you paint a picture like that?
I wish I could tell you, definitively. I think it's part experience and part imagination. I mean, I did live in the mountains about 75 miles north of LA for 20 years. So that had a lot of influence on a record, like maybe 2 records earlier. That record, A Year, was influenced by that. But I think it's just, any kind of writing, any kind of creativity, even if you're, whatever you're doing, you don't really know where those connections come from. It is all magic. And, some people that are born again Christians say that it's their personal savior, Jesus Christ. And other people will say it's just, out of the ether, and you have a butterfly net and you just catch a butterfly. But I think that, like, you mentioned the record Los Angeles, and Johnny Hit and Run Pauline, or Your Phone's Off the Hook, things like that. Those also just create a story. And I've always been drawn to images and being somewhat cinematic, and because I like hearing a song where there's a time and a place, and whether it's in the singer's voice or in the words, you should be transported. That's my greatest hope, is that people can listen to something, go into a world that you create, walk around a little bit, and then come back out and think, oh wow, I saw something. I went there. Yeah, this was just a little bit more disciplined, where I didn't have anything modern in the,
Yeah, because with this one, it's not
voice.
like you were in the 1800s. It's not like you could
No, no,
take
it's
your
just that you start pushing yourself towards something, and then you just keep going there. You say, okay, well, this is where I'm going to go, and then you keep going there. And like the thing of something being made out of nothing. I mean, that song, "The Cowboy and the Hot Air Balloon," which is like one of the few light moments in the in the whole record. uh I was on X was on tour, and I literally woke up, and that first line, "He stepped out of the bar and into the street, and a hot air balloon swept him off his feet." That just came to me, and then it's like, well, damn, guess I better go with this. And it just, it was a setup to take a trip. Sorry for the airplanes that are going over, but I'm in
oh,
a
it's
big
okay.
city. Uh,
It happens.
yeah, it's real, man. It's real, Anthony. We're here in the real life. But so you just gotta, and you have to honor that as well. Where if something comes to you, and this is maybe a tip for any songwriters or creative people out there, if something comes to you, if you can, stop what you're doing and just see where it takes you for, you know 15 minutes or an hour or whatever, however long it keeps pulling you forward or something. Just do it. Don't kind of put it off and say, oh well, yeah, I'll remember that, and I'll do it later, because you probably won't. And that's your, intuition, or your creativity, tapping you on the shoulder and saying, hey, pay attention. Something's coming in. There's a transmission. Here comes the transmission. Get ready. Okay, here it comes. And then, you gotta honor that. You gotta pay attention to it and say, yeah, okay, I'm here. I'm fully present, and I'm gonna do this damn thing.
Kind of going with that, I want to ask too. Like, I mean, that's so great when like a line will just come to you like that or something. But like
Mhm.
talking about that, how do you with songs? Do you have like a certain amount of time where you can tell if a song's going to work or not? Like, will you go, okay, look at it. If it doesn't play out within a certain amount of time, you kind of let it go, or I mean, will you kind of hold on and really work out a song for a while and kind of, you know what I mean? Like, go, I think this can be something.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm stuck now, but maybe in a
right.
while it will become more.
Yes to all of that. Um, you can no, you can wreck something that has potential by trying to bang it into shape or bang it into place. And if you have, a third of it done, and you're starting to like bear down on it and wrench it, and beat it up and stuff, then you are going to break it. You're going to ruin it, and it's going to become it's not going to be true, and it's not going to be inspired, and you should just like put it aside, then come back to it when when some other, you're feeling particularly open, vulnerable, or something like that, and then something else might come to you. um, I would say, what I've learned over the years is to be more intuitive about it. With the X record, we all contributed more. Billy and DJ showed up with much more like experience, and I was and Exene and I were led about making things work. And if something didn't work, we just said, okay, well, why don't we just do 2 chords instead of 4 chords? Why don't we just do, a different melody? Why don't we, cut that in half, or just be open about it, and be really flexible, rather than trying to bear down on things. The more you bear down on a creative process, I think the it's just going to break. It's not going to be good. You just have to let it be, and let it kind of develop, and be nice to it.
It sounds like so you, and maybe you wouldn't even say overthink in the past, but it sounds like you're maybe more now in a place maybe you were before, where you've kind of understood that, where it's like, okay, I don't need to force this second verse, or I don't, if 2 chords
Right.
work, I don't need 4 chords.
Right.
Well, kind of
Um,
like you were.
Yes, I definitely overthought stuff in the past, and that's not to say that there aren't 1 billion ways of doing it. Somebody else could go note by note and minute, second by second, and create something. That's not what's rewarding for me. That's not what I am interested in, or how my method works, my process works. But I allow for, I understand that people can make great things by being really rigid, or being the play every note on the record. You can make great things. I mean, Prince did that, and all kinds of people make things different in different ways. I'm just talking about the way that it works for me.
Oh no, I always think that's interesting, and I like, because I mean, I can talk to 5 different musicians in a day. Everyone will have a different take on that. Just saying, like,
Oh yeah,
is your idea your best idea? Can you tweak too much, this and that? Some people say, oh, I'll spend months on a song, or just getting that one part right. And then other people are like, no, that's my downfall. You got to go with like your first
yes.
couple thoughts at least.
Yeah. Well, I think it was Allen Ginsberg that said, first thought, best thought. I think it was him. So I appreciate that. I find that it's interesting to edit things like the connecting words, the prepositions and things like is it into, or is it on top of, or is it but, or is it and, or in or on, or all those kinds of things, and that's where it can be kind of fun. That's where it's a little exciting, when you find a more economical or specific way to phrase something.
Yeah, the little tweaking, you know what I mean? Like things like that make sense too. It's like it's little things. It's not changing the song altogether, doing like a 180. It's just it's those little things. Makes it better, probably.
Well, you'd be surprised. I mean, I got a chance to go to this Bob Dylan Center. There's just opened up in Tulsa.
Oh,
I got a chance to go there. Yeah, and it's truly amazing. I mean, all the exhibits are displayed very differently, and yeah, it's a kind of immersive experience. But they were asking some people to come out and look at the archive before it was displayed, and write a little something about it. And the record I was always drawn to, which is relevant to this new record of mine, was John Wesley Harding, because that was one that I was I don't know, 19 or 20 or something like that. And when I heard that record, it was like, oh, this is a record that I relate to. The other records before were my older brother's Bob Dylan records, and things like that. So, and that also, John Wesley Harding also created a world, that seemed sort of in the past. And anyway, I got a chance to listen to a number of different takes from that record. They would have each song, and they would have all the takes that they did. And some songs were just the same, just different takes, the same or the same delivery. Like All Along the Watchtower was the same. There were 7 or 8 takes. And then you hear one that was on the record, and you go, oh yeah, there's the one that they chose. The other ones were outtakes. But the song, As I Went Out One Morning, was originally in 3/4 time. It was really slow, and there were only 4 takes. And like the third and fourth take, they switched it into 4/4 time, and brought up the tempo. And it's like, oh, that's radically different. And it was a really great idea, because the other one was really kind of too slow and didn't really, keep you engaged in the story. So I think you can just, if something is not working, that was something that X did on the last record. If something didn't work, it's like, no, we are not going to just keep trying to go down the same path and expect a different result, because that's going to be frustrating. And then you're going to think, oh, I don't like this anymore. I don't like the song. I don't like what we're doing. This is bumming me out. Maybe this isn't any good. And then you start doubting yourself. So just change it.
Well, and I got to, kind of going with that too, with that X record, I'm sure because there were so many years in between too. I mean, I'm sure that's a thought. There's a lot of pressure, I'm sure, putting out your first record in that many years. Would you say 27 years?
Yeah.
I mean,
It was
I'm
actually
sure
30, it was actually 35 since we had done one with Billy.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it was some pressure, but I think that we had all the elements set up. We had a record company. Fat Possum is great. We had a producer, Rob Schnaff, is mixed the Live in South America record, and so we knew that we would be safe. We knew that we had a reason to do this, because you don't want to put all that time and effort into something and then not have a place to put it out, or a way to get it out there. We had been touring so much that I think we were more aware of what we did well. It's like play to your strengths. You don't have to reinvent yourself. Just play your strengths. And as we were developing it, as we were, editing and orchestrating and stuff, it's like, well, or even writing it, I would think, oh, well, this is where DJ could do what he does well. And this is what Billy could do, what he does well. This will give them, kind of a platform to do their thing, so.
I mean, it ended up working. Your formula worked. You put out, I would say, one of the best X records of the entire
I appreciate
career.
that. It was a labor of love, because we knew that it's not going to get on any charts or whatever. It's just we're going to make a record for ourselves to prove that we can. We're going to make a record for the people that want to hear an X record, and there's a lot of young people that come to our shows as well. So we want to deliver for them as too.
Nice. Getting into the
and
Fables,
I would also say that the process of it is we started out with 3 older songs that we didn't really feel like we had recorded well. Delta 88 and I Got a Fever and Cyrano de Bergerac Back. And then we had one new song, Angel on the Road. I'd written that as a poem, pretty much beginning to end. And that's
really?
also, a great story. Yeah. I mean, she has that ability to just write a song top to bottom, verse, second verse, chorus, third verse, chorus, and it's all there. You just have to put music to it. And that was one of those. And we recorded it with Rob, and it all was rewarding and fulfilling, and it was relative, as easy as recording can be, because recording is always a little difficult. You got to overcome, some things, and but it sounded like X, and we thought, okay, cool, we can do this. And that was in, I think that was in end of 2018.
Oh wow! I didn't realize you guys were doing it that far back.
Well, yeah, but then we recorded it at the end of 2019.
Oh, okay.
Or rehearsed and yeah, got it all set, and then recorded at the beginning of 2020. It took us a year to songs to write the rest of the record, and then Fat Possum, it was all done by the end of March in 2020, and Fat Possum said, fuck it, let's just put it out. We're in the middle of the pandemic, and it was April was the 40th anniversary of releasing Los Angeles, and they said, well, let's just do it. We don't know what's going to happen. We were planning on putting it out in October of 2020, but luckily we just dropped it, same. And Fiona Apple had just done the same thing. Nobody expected it, and it was right before the pandemic hit, and we had a captive audience. Everybody was locked down at home, so it was exciting.
You have no reason not to check out the new X record. What else are you doing?
Exactly, watching Tiger King.
Actually, I mean, I knew of X for years, obviously, but I mean, the pandemic, that album, everything's really kind of what got me on the X train. And sounding absolutely fresh, like a like what you would sound like in 2020. Like it sounds like almost like you never stopped, which not everyone can do. Sometimes people come back with that later record and you almost go, well, maybe you shouldn't have done that record.
Yeah.
Not with X. Like, I'm actually like, God, I hope they do more. Where some bands are like, maybe
less is more. That's another definition of that. You know who else did that though? Is the Psychedelic Furs put out a record, I think in September of 2020, called Made of Rain, and that's a fantastic record. It is
now
so
they're
good.
going
Yes. So I mean, it sounds just like the Psych Furs, but it's 2020, and it's a great record if you haven't listened to it. There's some amazing, beautiful songs, and it's got that dark, quality that all of their records had, which is why I think that the tour with X and the Psych Furs works really well, because there's this underbelly of darkness and pain and all those good things.
yeah, all the good stuff. No, I'm looking forward to that tour, and that is a very nice package, a good lineup. I take it you'll be playing some Alphabetland on there, some songs off the new record on that tour.
Oh yeah, we've been doing 4 or 5 of them.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
I for the new record, I didn't want to get into like recording and that, as we're like talking about recording. Where was Fables in a Foreign Land recorded? Where did you guys record this one?
It was in Austin. The studio is called Public Hi-Fi, and it's created, run, and the genius of Jim Eno, the drummer for Spoon. It's his studio. Spoon
really?
does most of their recording there, and it's got great old gear, and it's got really high ceilings. It's fairly small, but he used probably 1/3 of the studio because we had created the whole record on Kevin Smith's back porch. So we recorded it like that. We didn't use headphones. It was all live. We just sang and played into the air. And it was like, okay, guys, it's for real, because there aren't going to be any overdubs. You can't fix a bad note. You just got to sing and play right. And we did. We could cut between takes, if there was like one small bad section or, a bum note or something like that, then we could cut in between takes, because Conrad has great time. And but it was for real.
Wow. Have you done anything like that before? Like a recording experience like that?
No, not like that. I mean, I've always had the option to be able to drop in a bad vocal performance, or or fix what was mostly good. So it was some pressure, but it was good. It was good. It's like, this is for real, like, do it. Stand there. Huh? Yes, we had about 1.5 years of rehearsal. But it was great. It was a great experience. We did it in about 5 days, and then or 4, and then had a couple of guest artists who were really wonderful. Carrie Rodriguez is a violin player in Austin. She has a solo career. She's actually part of she wrote the songs for a Broadway show called Americano that's on Broadway, like right now. And Carrie is just such a bright light, and so inventive, and just she played fiddle on a couple things, and then Josh Baca from a band called Tex Maniacs played accordion on one song, and that was it. Less was more in this case.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Bare bones.
Yeah, and Steve Berlin from Los Lobos helped. He's sort of our main producer, and Dave Way, who's an engineer and producer, also contributed immensely, because I've worked with Dave for a long time, and he actually mixed the last Fiona Apple record, some of it, and worked on the early Macy Gray records. He did all the recording of that, and His other last project was that Echoes in the Canyon, the Jake Dylan film.
Oh, documentary? Yeah.
I had a lot of help, a lot of great help, and it was also recorded to be put on this new format called Sony Atmos, which they've been using in movie theaters, and it's like a surround sound thing. You have to have a special setup where you have 6 or 12 speakers, and you know it actually it sounds like you're inside of the band.
Wow.
So, yeah, Dave did all that stuff where he put microphones all over the studio up high, and in your setup in your home, you've got a speaker in front of you, 2 on the sides, and a couple above you and a couple behind you, and it's a crazy experience.
Have you gotten to hear the record that way yet?
Yes, I heard it at Dave's studio, and it's mind-blowing. It's like you're sitting and the band is all around you, and they're doing some of that with like Al Green and some old jazz sessions, and it's some crazy computer process that you can take a track and you can put a percentage of that track, like 60% on the right, and then 10% in the front, and 20% in the back. And so whatever that track is, if it's the bass end of the spectrum, then or of that track, then it'll just come out on that side. It's and it's all visual. You're actually like moving this little piece over here and moving that over there. I saw Dave do it. It's pretty wild, but it works. And I guess they've been using it in for movie theaters for a while.
Oh my God, I would love to hear music this way. I feel like you could do a lot with drum. Like if you mic'd drums enough, like you could really screw around with some drums in a format like that.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely.
I would love to hear it like that. Have you guys, obviously you're going to be touring with the John Doe Folk Trio coming up. Have you done, I assume this is like your first tour. Have you guys played like any shows since forming?
Well, yeah, we played, Conrad and Kevin and I played like 2 or 3 shows before lockdown, like 2018, 2019, probably 2019. And then we've done a couple afterward. We played out at a hot rod show in Austin, and we played a show downtown, mostly around Texas. And we're going to do some shows during the release week coming up in May. We're playing at a place, it's about 40 miles outside of Austin, and the club is called the Devil's Backbone. The Devil's Backbone. And then playing up in Denton, which is outside of Dallas. Who comes from Denton? I think maybe the old 97s come from Denton.
Denton sounds familiar, so some band does, because that's the only reason I'd even know of Denton, Texas, probably.
Right. And there's a place up there called Dan's Silverleaf, and then we're going to play down in Houston. And yeah, it's good. Kevin and Conrad, and then Kevin's got to do some more work with this guy Willie Nelson. I don't know if you've heard of him, but
this up and comer.
I think I'm going to have a sub for the June tour. Unfortunately, yeah, more COVID related bullshit. Where I guess Willie is better, but he got COVID, so he had to reschedule some dates, and that came right in the middle of our tour. So gonna have a substitute for Kevin Smith, but it'll be good.
At this point, I'm sure doing those songs live will be nothing. I mean, you recorded them live. They're very, it's not like, wow, this is going to sound too different from the album, probably. I mean, what you hear on the albums, what you're going to hear on stage, I think.
What you see is what you get. Yeah, it allows for some, improvisation. It's just like, you shade it one way or the other as you're feeling differently. So that's exciting.
I like when bands do that, when you get up there and you I feel like it keeps it interesting for you. If you play those songs every night, you got to throw something in.
You absolutely have to. Otherwise you're just, phoning it in, as they say.
Do you know the set list already? Do you kind of already know what you'll be playing? I mean, I assume it's going to be a good chunk of the new record.
A little bit. I mean, I think it's smart to go out with about 25 or 30 songs, really under your belt or in your bones, however you want to describe it. and then switch it around so you don't do the same set every night. That's also can lead to some kind of laziness. You got to keep everybody on their toes, keep yourself interested. Yeah.
For the yeah, I mean that's gonna be you'll be touring so much with that, and then with X and everything too. You keep them busy with that. What was I gonna ask? Like, besides songs off the new records, I mean, you gonna do like John Doe solo songs? Any covers? Like, do you know what else will be?
Yeah, we do a few covers. We do the song "I Only Have Eyes for You" by the Flamingos. Nice. Mm-hmm. We do occasionally we do the Big Rock Candy Mountain.
Oh, I heard your version. I saw the video performance. Really, really good.
Kids folk song. We do a Mexican folk song called Canción Mixteca, which was featured in that Wim Wenders movie, Paris, Texas. And I got an opportunity to work with Harry Dean Stanton years ago. And when he passed away, I thought, well, I should honor him by relearning the song. And so we play that at times. It's really old. I mean, I think it was written in 1910 or 1912. It was a song about people that were immigrating from the country to in Mexico, from the country to the city, and a song about how much they missed their homeland. We played that up in Fort Worth at an outdoor kind of festival, and there was this middle-aged, maybe in their 50s, Latino couple, and the woman was watching the show, and we're playing, my stuff and some X songs and things like that. And we played Canción Mixteca, and this woman sang every song, every word to it, and it just made my day. It's like she knew this song from when she was a child, and it was beautiful. So yeah, we do a bunch of different stuff.
It's funny about that too, because I saw that performance of Big Rock Candy Mountains, and I had forgot about that song. I don't remember how I heard it as a child, but I loved that song. And I still don't. I can't trace back where I even heard it from. But then I saw you. I'm like, I saw the title, and I'm like, is it the same one? And then I play it. I'm like, oh my God, there's John Doe doing it. Like you kind of the same thing. It's like you brought me back. I love it.
Well, I think that Burl Ives did a recording of that was pretty popular, and there was a long time. I mean, I was part of an era when kids were given folk music, here's kids music, folk music, but who was singing the folk music but Leadbelly, who had been, convicted of murder, and Woody Guthrie, who was, socialist fucking union organizer, rabble rouser, it's like all the, and the devil is always appearing in them, and there's always drunks and people cheating on their husbands or wives, and and people being killed, and or murder ballads and all this sort of stuff. It's like, it's all for the kids. It's like, what the fuck, man?
Okay. The making of the perfect children's record.
Good parenting, 1960s. Anyway, so I think it's like one of those songs. This land is your land, or so long it's been good to know you. And, the Midnight Special was the one that everyone knows from Leadbelly. Goodnight Irene. There's a version in a verse in Goodnight Irene. I love Irene, God knows I do. I love her till the rivers run dry. If she ever if she doesn't call my name, I think I'll take morphine and die. It's like, okay, that's bold, Leadbelly, Mr. Leadbetter. Yeah, I don't think that was in the kids' version of it, but nonetheless, it's like shit was real.
I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, and I'm gonna butcher the song title, Destroying Angels. At that point, yes. I mean, it's like it'd be like calling that a children's song.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, I give Shirley Manson all the credit for the lyrics on that. She made the whole story on that. And
That's one of my favorite songs on the record.
Yeah, Exene and I were lucky enough to. Yeah, Exene and I were lucky enough to tour with Garbage and Blondie. Just the two of us. Exene and I opened the show, and got to be good pals with Shirley. I mean, X had toured with Blondie earlier, so Debbie Harry and Chris Stein and Clem Burke and us were good pals. But Shirley's a really warm, even though she has a lot of dark past, she's done a lot of work on herself to get through that, and to be like a genuinely grateful and fulfilled kind of person. But she said at some point to Exene and I, let's write a murder ballad. And I thought, sure. Yeah. Shirley Manson said, let's write a murder ballad. You don't say no. And then she gave me the lyrics, and I worked it up, and we recorded it with Garbage, and it was in 3/4 time. It was very heavy, very goth, like their sound is. And I kind of wanted to bring it back to a more traditional folky murder ballad version on this record.
You did a good job, with the collaborations on the album too, because I know there's a couple of them. Are they all like lyrical collaborations, or were there musical collaborations in there as well with outside?
It was all lyrics. Yeah. Exene co-wrote that song, Destroying Angels. She wrote the chorus to that. And El Romanzo, Luis Perez from Los Lobos wrote the Spanish verses in that. And Terry Allen, who's a wonderful songwriter, mostly known as a visual artist, but well known in Texas. He's one of the Flatlanders, like with Jimmy Dale Gilmore and Joe Ely, Butch Hancock, and those guys. They all grew up around Lubbock back in the 50s and 60s. But Terry contributed lyrics to that Never Coming Back song.
Have you done, I mean, obviously you collaborate with like bandmates and stuff, but have you ever done anything like that before, where you have like people come on and kind of collaborate on lyrics and stuff for an album?
No, not really. I think that's more of that opening up and trying to be flexible. But I mean, apart from Exene, I've co-written some songs with Dave Alvin. But it's not my go-to thing. No, I'm not. I feel like, well, I can pretty much take care of this. But then if you get somebody else to contribute, they have a different take on it.
Yeah, you get something else. You get everyone's little like piece on it,
Right. Well, it's also like bringing in different people to play on your record. You could probably do it, but you wouldn't have the influence or the musical kind of ability, vocabulary, whatever that they do.
Because it does sound like this album, was, like you said, a lot of experiment, like a lot of first for you. You did a lot of like things that sounds like differently on this one. Is there anything in it that you think like going forward you would do more of, whether it be, I don't know, recording that way, doing more live, doing more stripped back, collaborating lyrically? Like, is there anything you think you would do do again on future records?
I would do all of it again. I don't know that we'll have that opportunity because we won't, everyone's going to be working. Everyone's going to be touring. More often, you create the songs, you send them out, people start learning them, and then the time is more compressed. It's all in a few months that you do it. Or it can be spread out over a long time, but the actual time you're working on it is shorter. But absolutely, I'm going to collaborate more with songwriting.
Nice. I think it worked well on the record.
Going to try to do that. Yeah, try to do that with Grantley Phillips. He and Kristen Hirsch and I have toured a little bit under this name called the Exile Follies, and we're talking about doing some more stuff. But I don't know. I definitely want to work more with Carrie Rodriguez because she's really talented. And yeah, I think it's worth it. And I'm going to try to. Exene and I are working on some new songs. We might do some recording in November if we can get our shit together.
Are we talking X, or you don't really just
Yeah.
kind of use Exene? Oh
No,
no!
with X.
Oh yes.
Yeah. More X stuff.
Oh, that
Why
makes
not?
me very, very happy.
We got to do it while we're young.
Yes, we need. You're on a roll. I mean, you're on a musical roll the last few years. So
Oh God.
anything you do, I feel like is gonna keep pulling from whatever that is, whatever creative energy has hit you. I mean, not to say I always love your stuff, but the last few years, yeah, you've I feel like you're really hitting a stride on stuff. So keep it up.
That's good. I've fooled you again.
So as we close this up, I mean, for the rest of 2022, what should we be on the lookout for from John Doe? Anything like John Doe and all John Doe related projects? What should we be on the lookout for?
Well, we're gonna release another video for this record, a video for Destroying Angels.
Ooh, nice.
And really talented person that we know, Victor Krummenacher, who played bass in Camper Van Beethoven, played bass in Cracker, plays with Dave Alvin at times, is in a new band called the Eyelids. Victor's really talented, and he also did a couple of videos for Dave Alvin's project called The Third Mind, which was a kind of instrumental blues psychedelic experiment, and that's coming out. And we had two other videos for this, one for El Romanzo and one for Never Coming Back. So, but I think the rest is going to be, devoted to trying to stay healthy enough to continue to tour. I mean, lately, I know 3 different people who've been on tour and had to cancel shit because they got sick, and it's like it's open, but it's not. I mean, it's like you can still and you can't lie and say, no, I didn't test positive. I'm going to go out and sing my show. You can't do that. So you'd have to be really careful, and it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard because you have to, have your COVID bubble while you're on tour, and that's no fun. You can't have any guests backstage. You can't see your friends, and you have to just kind of hunker down and get the job done. But that's going to be our thing, and hopefully some more recording.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure I'll be coming up and seeing those shows in Ohio, and it looks like there'll be more later on in the year. So, I mean, where do people now they hear this, and we'll be playing some music off this after the interview, but where do people go grab the new album? Where do we find you online?
Fat Possum is releasing the record, and they've done some pretty cool like bundles. They have the record cover is in black and white, but they did a color silk screen for it. They did a broadside of the poem on the back, and my website is the John Doe with 2 E's, THEE johndoe.com, and I got some merch there and stuff like that, and you can buy the punk rock book, and you can there's other stuff, but yeah, Fat Possum and the John Doe. That's where you can find me.
That's where we go.
And also on Instagram. I have an Instagram account which is the John Doe.
With 2 E's.
2 E's, THEE, as in the thou and thouest John Doe.
Oh, I love it. Well, if you're listening to the podcast, we'll play a song or two. If you're listening to the radio show is 4 hours long. We're actually going to play the whole record. I mean, once this is out, once it's actually on radio, the record is out. But if you're listening to the radio show right now, you're about to hear the record that we just talked about. You're going to hear Fables in Land, and then you should go buy it. You should listen to it, and then go buy it, and then go see John Doe on tour. I think that's what you should
please.
Do. But either way, whether you're listening to the podcast, whether you're listening to the podcast or the radio show, we're kicking it off with track 1. This is Never Coming Back right here on the Power Chord Hour.
Right here on the Power Chord Hour podcast, that was Destroying Angels Before that was The Cowboy and the Hot Air Balloon, and opening up that block of music was Never Coming Back. All three of those off John Doe's new record, Fables in a Foreign Land. And I would like to thank John again for doing that interview. So much fun getting to talk to him about it was kind of nice to get to not only talk about the new record, but also go back a couple years and talk about X's Alphabetland, an album that I've talked about so much on this show, just how good it is, how amazing that a band who hadn't put out a record in that many decades could come back that strong and put out an album that just, just like they missed nothing, like just right back on track, and also putting something out that not only is just kind of good, but is like one of the best things you've ever done. Like Alphabetland being one of the best releases I think X has ever done. And to say I'm happy to hear that they're working on new music, even at its beginning stages, I'm, oh my God, am I happy for that. I am so excited that we'll be getting, it sounds like we'll be getting another X record sooner than later. And I've read and heard some other interviews with John, like after Alphabetland came out, where he's kind of like, I don't know if we'll do another one. Maybe this is the album that we go out on and stuff. And I'm happy to hear that it does not seem like that will be the case. So don't get me wrong, Alphabetland's not. If you're gonna end on a certain record, that's a pretty high note to end on. But I mean, between that record, Fables in a Foreign Land, I mean, John Doe and Exene and the rest of X, I mean, all of them are obviously still on their game and still writing some really amazing stuff. So I'm hoping we get that, maybe before the end of the year, maybe next year, whenever it happens. But until then, we have an amazing new John Doe Trio album. Go listen to that entire thing. That record is so good. And John is, as you're hearing this, he'll be going on tour here very soon. He'll be on tour this month if you're listening in June. And then he'll be touring with X next month with the Psychedelic Furs. And they're playing all over. So there's a good chance John Doe is playing around you this summer. Whether it was with the John Doe Trio or it was with X, John Doe is probably playing in your neck of the woods, and you should go see him. I still cannot believe I've never seen him or X live. I'm going to change that this summer, and you should as well. Well, maybe you've already seen them. That's me assuming you've never seen X live, and hopefully you have. They tour more than enough. But that's going to be the episode for this week. And boys, an episode. I mean, John goes right up there as one of the coolest people I ever got to interview. I mean, in terms of one of my favorites, a favorite songwriter. I mean, a legend, by all means, a legend, and also just so nice. I mean, you just heard it. He was the nicest guy. Like before I remembered to hit record, he was really cool. After the interview, he was really cool. We talked a little more afterwards. Like, I can't tell you how nice he was, because I was a nervous wreck for it. Not for any reason. I mean, John Doe always seemed really rad. It's not like he's someone where you hear all these things like, John Doe's real mean or anything like that. But you're interviewing John fucking Doe. Like, I'm gonna be nervous. Like, there's no other way for me to be but nervous to interview John Doe. And just right away, the nicest guy. Like, was just joking. Super nice, charismatic. I mean, just such a great personality. John Doe is who we should all strive to be. I want to be John Doe when I grow up. And with that is this episode of the Power Chord Hour podcast. Thank you so much for checking it out. Follow us online. We are at Power Chord Hour on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Please follow us, all three places. Really do appreciate it. You can find the Power Chord Hour podcast everywhere you listen to podcasts. Wherever you're listening to it right now, it would be very rad if you rate, review, and subscribe. That helps out a ton. Please subscribe. Please. Look at all this goddamn begging I'm doing. I am just begging you. Go leave a review. I was even going to say nice, but just leave a review. Call me an asshole. I don't care. Just leave a review and subscribe and spread the word. Tell your friends about us. All of that helps a whole lot. And actually, I'm going to entice it. I'm going to give you something enticing. If you rate and review the show and also subscribe, send me a screenshot, email it to me, powerchordhour@gmail.com. I will send you a free Power Chord Hour t-shirt. We just got some made. Our listener Grace, shout out to her. She's gotten some PCH shirts made in the past, and she just got a new batch in. And I cannot thank her enough for doing these. She is a fan of the show. Our very first fan. She's been listening since 2016, since the very beginning on the radio show. She is an OG, and I cannot thank her enough for getting shirts made. I mean, it baffles my mind anybody likes the show enough to go spend money and make us shirts. But she made us shirts, and I would not sell them. You know what I mean? She makes them to help spread the word, and it was very, very rad of her to do. So if you want one of those, you don't got to pay money, but you do got to go leave a review and send me a screenshot, powerchordhour@gmail.com. Send me it there. I mean, you can also you can DM me on social media, wherever. Just give me a screenshot. Just basically give me proof that you have rate and reviewed the podcast, and I will send you a t-shirt. And I hope you're a men's extra large, because that's what we got. So, it is what it is. I've had a few friends who I said I'd keep one for you. It's probably going to be a nightgown, but that is okay. Maybe it's a Power Chord Hour podcast t-shirt. Maybe it is a Power Chord Hour nightgown. It could be anything. Maybe you cut that shit up and put it on the back of your jean vest and go jump in that fucking mosh pit. You know what I mean? Like you do you with that shirt. But rate and review, and I'll give you a t-shirt. I think that's a pretty good trade-off. I'm sure I'll throw some Power Chord Hour stickers in there as well, which also, if you want some Power Chord Hour stickers, just email me, powerchordhour@gmail.com, and I'll send you some out for free. You don't have to rate and review the podcast for those stickers, but it would still be very, very cool of you. What else? New radio shows every Friday night. That is what we started as. We've been doing the podcast since 2020, but we have been a radio show since 2016, and we're going strong on there every Friday night, 8 to midnight on 107.9 WRFA in Jamestown, New York. And you can stream that station all over. You can stream us worldwide at WRFALP.com/streaming. You go there, listen to the station in real time. It will be just like you're right here in Jamestown with your old pal Anthony listening to me on the radio, as well as all the other great programs that we got on there. So you can check that out. And what else? We got the podcast, we got social media, we got the t-shirts. I believe that is everything. Tune back in next week. I am talking to Tony Scalzo of the band Fastball. This was another really fun one. And actually, I did not know this until interviewing Tony, but Tony was a part of that Los Angeles punk rock scene in the very beginning. He was there in like 77, and we talked a little bit about him going and seeing X and all that. He saw them a bunch way back in the day. And very cool. So we'll keep the John Doe talk going next week. We'll be talking to Tony about new music, and they put out an EP just a few months ago. Now they got a new record coming out in just a couple weeks. So very fitting to have Tony on. So yeah, tune back in for that. Tony Scalzo of Fastball next Monday on a new one. But until then, for the Power Chord Hour podcast,